Hey everyone, so here we are again for another thrilling, amazing, challenging episode for my Five Live. I was going to say for Sally G TV because that's where they end up on. So if you don't know, if you want to catch more of my trainings, if you've missed some of my lives, you want to see what else I'm sharing, I do actually have a TV channel on YouTube and it's called Sally G TV. And you will find all of my live trainings and videos and other things that I share as well that might not make it onto my feed. They're on there. So if you ever want to catch them, they're all there. So today, you might have seen on my feed, I'm actually doing a training again after this one for Empowered Mums TV for Mums in Business Australia. And obviously that one is going to have a business slant. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to teach, I've taken some points from a webinar that I'm about to launch, which very much has a business slant. So it's aimed at people overcoming their past because their past has them stuck in business. But I was looking at all the 6 points that are in my webinar and that I'm teaching for that. And I thought, you know what, they apply just as well here. Hi, thanks for joining. And I thought this is very, very relevant. And this is really a summary of lots of things that I teach. And I've just put it together in this way for you. Now, I haven't written much on the board. And if you can't see it very well, I apologize. I am going to talk you all the way through it. I was going to write it up as I go, but you know that you've seen me before when I'm teaching and training and trying to write. That doesn't go well. That just ends up a horrible mess. So I've just written up the key points so that we can work through them. And one of the things I really want you to understand, okay, so working with trauma and abuse, the main thing we're focusing on, whether we have trauma, whether we have abuse, we understand that it's things in our past, things we've learned, things we've heard, experienced, seen. Some of it serves us, of course, some of it makes us who we are in a good way, but so much of what we learn as children, because we picked it up as children, because we didn't have an adult's perspective about it, we have a child's perspective, and it's not serving us in our life today. So one of the important things I want you to really take on board, and these are a couple of phrases that will really serve you, and they're really simple, is that internal transformation equals external success. So it's when you start to look at what's going on inside of you that is holding you back and working out how you can change that is when you get the success that you really deserve. Just letting go of everything that just doesn't serve you in what you're trying to do today. And from that, what I've put up is, so your success in any area of your life, whether this is your career, your business, your relationships, your family, your home life, everything. So your success, I could put in there, in anything, is directly related to healing your emotional pain. And really after this, thank you. Yeah, I see you love that. I love this too. I love this. And really after that, we could just write truth, 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 truth. Because in any area of your life, those of you that have had failed relationships, hey, haven't we all? Hands up, or, where areas of your life that you struggle with, even if it's not a failed relationship, one that you had to work really hard on turning around, hey, hands up too. And what I've learned is that everything that went wrong ever in my life, everything that wasn't going so well, everything that wasn't what I thought it should be, came from some kind of emotional pain. Okay, so absolutely this, I cannot express enough the truth of this statement here. Your success is directly related. I'm just going to put in any area of your life is directly related to healing your emotional pain. So we'll just put truth there. Because your emotional pain, no matter what it's about, it affects you. And there's a saying, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And this is so true. So if we wake up grumpy in the morning and feeling hurt with our partner, we don't go into work and then just suddenly become the light of the world and a ray of sunshine. That's the kind of time when by mid-morning, no matter how you start off, someone's going to be saying to you, are you okay? What's up with you? What's happened? Is there anything I can do? Because all of the emotional pain that you carry around anything, whether it's a row with the kids, whether it's something from your past, whatever, your emotional pain affects every area of your life. So I love this phrase. Your success in any area of your life is directly related to healing your emotional pain. Fantastic. God, if we could all take that on board and go, yeah, I need to heal my emotional pain, we would all be completely different people. So how does it affect you? This word here, I absolutely love. I touched on this a couple of times this week. This is coming up. If you missed what I had to say about this earlier in the week, no matter who I work for, and you have to remember what we're talking about here, this is subconscious. Often you're not aware of these, or if you are, you're not aware of the extent. You might be aware that they're playing a role, but you don't really know the depth and the understanding of exactly what's happening. Deserve. So your emotions, your past, your experiences, and in particular, the trauma of your abuse affects what you think you deserve. Now, if you remember what we said, thoughts create actions, create results. If you are thinking that you don't deserve something, that is going to have a direct effect on what you can achieve, because it will affect the action that you take. If you think you don't deserve the next level in your work, if you think you don't deserve that fancy night out, that expensive pair of shoes, that person who loves you, that bigger house, that fancy holiday, you're not going to take the action to get it. All right. And I shared earlier in the week how I found no matter what level I'm working, from the person who is just starting out on their journey, realizing that they have all this trauma, this really broken person from an emotional, abusive relationship, right through to celebrities and multimillionaires who look like they have everything. Somewhere there are beliefs that stop them, stop people. The people that come to me at the start of their journey, this is very prevalent. And as soon as I say to them, there's going to be an issue of what you think you deserve, they relate to that straight away. Those who are further up the scale, the kind of more celebrity, multimillionaire type clients, they can't work this out. All they know is that they've got this success, this money, life should be great. And all they're saying is, I can't enjoy it and I don't know why. And it comes down to this. And as soon as I say to them, it sounds as if you don't think you deserve it, a light bulb goes off. This is an aha moment. And then we have to find out why. So you have to get to grips with what you deserve. This will affect your results at every level. From the property you buy, to the clothes you treat yourself to the food, to absolutely everything. What I would suggest you do with this, the reason I wrote this up beforehand rather than my usual scribble mess, is so that you could clearly deserve. This is going to be up. You can take a snapshot of it. You can write these down. And for yourself, write down every area of your life where not mastering these things is affecting you. What aren't you doing, or what don't you have because you feel you don't deserve it? Or what do you have that you're not enjoying because you feel you don't deserve it? Or even if you're not aware that it's because you know you don't deserve it or think you don't deserve it, what might it be affecting? And I want you to see that for yourself. It's a very, very long list. It's basically your whole life. So this is so important. Self-confidence. You have to master your self-confidence. And you have to do this so that you can be authentic. I'm saying this from experience because if you know my story, you know that my past bullying at school just completely devastated any sense of who I thought and knew that I was. And I literally went through the whole of my school life, my 20s, my 30s, right into my mid 40s with no self-confidence. And here's the main things it did. The main things it did, it leads to down here anyway, but the main thing it did, it meant I couldn't be authentic. I couldn't be myself because number one, I didn't know who I was. But number two, I had an overriding sense. My overriding belief was that who I was not good enough. Because up until the age of 8, I'd just been who I was. And then I got bullied for it, and I was left with no doubt that that wasn't good enough. So I'm running that blueprint. So I can't be myself. So every single situation that I went into, from social, which is why I had extreme social anxiety, to work, to relationships with my family, everything, I was constantly looking at everything with no self-confidence. So I wasn't establishing my values and boundaries. And most importantly, I couldn't be authentic because I was constantly looking to other people and their lives and trying to fit in and saying to myself, what do those people need me to be? What do they want me to be? What do they need from me? Well, believe me, I don't do that anymore. What I do now is I show up as I am, and I just, like, I didn't say the words, but my attitude is very much, this is me, this is who I am. If you like me as I am, great, we can be in each other's lives. And if you don't like me as I am, that's absolutely fine. We just won't bother each other. Do you see? And it's like, I do not change. I will not change. I have my values. I have my boundaries. I have a very firm idea and a concept of who I am. And there are people who don't like me. There are people who don't like the work that I'm doing. And it doesn't matter, because there are hundreds of people that do. And I don't care. I don't care about the people that don't like me. I have self-confidence in who I am. I think I'm doing a good thing. I'm doing a good job. I like myself as a person, and I can just be authentic. And if you don't like it, that's okay. That's fine. I don't mind. That's okay. Master your self-confidence. Find out who you are. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be for you? And what does that look like in terms of your principles, your values, your boundaries, and the life that you're going to build for yourself around that? And don't let anyone take that away from you. Just be you. It makes a huge difference. Because what happens, I should link these two really, should probably change these round. When you feel like you don't deserve things, what happens when good things start to happen in your life, and I see this over and over and over. When people come to me and they will tell me about things that happened in their life, and they'll say, I did this work and I did this, and I seem to have this great relationship, and then I had this business, and they're telling me about all the things that happened, and then they'll suddenly say, but then I just didn't seem to want it anymore. Then it just stopped working for me. Then I just couldn't seem to enjoy it. I couldn't progress with what it was. I couldn't carry on making it happen. Here you go. Self-sabotage. Sometimes, when we're talking about trauma and abuse, this would be self-harm as well. Self-harm would fit into here. Self-sabotage directly related to what you think you do and you don't deserve. Okay, this comes up such a lot, and you can imagine if this comes up, then this comes up. Okay, these two very much go together. Another one that you might not think of, you have to release all blame and guilt. We can all look back on things that happened to us, things that people did, things that people said, and blame other people. All right, we can do that. That's fine. I'm sure we can all genuinely and honestly look back and say, so-and-so did that, and that made me feel, and that ruined that part of my life. Sure, we can all do that. But here's what you have to do. You have to let that go. Because do you know what blame does? Blame keeps you stuck. Blame keeps you stuck. And what you have to do is take responsibility. At some point, You have to stop being a victim. And I am not saying, my God, guys, I work with abuse victims, okay? I am not talking and saying that people are never victims. People who have things done to them when they are powerless and vulnerable and they have no choice, they are victims. But the whole point is, with what we know now about what we can do with our minds and our emotions and how we can overcome and how powerful the mind is, we do not have to stay stuck as victims. We can become victors. And we become victors when we stop blaming other people and we take responsibility. We don't necessarily have to take responsibility for the past. If someone has done something to you, you were caught up in situations where it was very difficult for you to look at alternatives or to be or to take different action, then sure, you don't have to take responsibility for the past. Although it's very, very good if you can also look at, I have plenty of situations in my life where I can blame other people, but the best thing I can do is look at that and also own that I had a role. I had a part to play, and I am also responsible for what happened. And when you do that and you take responsibility, what you take responsibility for, and I don't care if you take responsibility for your past. I don't care if you stand here and go, I'm not owning any part of that. That was all someone else. That's absolutely fine. But what you must take responsibility for is your future. Your future, once you understand this, your future does not depend on what someone else did to you in the past. Your future depends on what you do for you today, what you do for you tomorrow, how you decide to take responsibility and to put all of that behind you. You have to let go of blame and you have to let go of guilt. And I'm really talking about people who are abused as children here. One of the biggest things that I come across, one of the biggest hurdles, is that children who are victims, they are so powerless, so vulnerable, and they are made to do terrible things, and then they are made to feel terrible about themselves. And they have enormous guilt about that. They have guilt mostly because they are told that they are bad. And they are told it over and over and over. And if they're not told it, they're made to feel it. They feel that things must be happening to them because they're a bad person. Guys, you have to let go of this. That will also keep you stuck. And the work that we do on this, I know I've spoken to you before, talk therapy, yes, CBT, NLP, all those things. But undo this guilt, because you don't even know it's there. I worked with someone yesterday who had the most amazing, incredible emotional release. I was like a load of balloons going up. It was unbelievable just to see the light that suddenly went on and how she looked different and was laughing and felt different because we uncovered something that she felt guilty about and were able to show her that it was nothing to do with her. And the release was for me, it was exhausting for me, that session, but my word, I was so, I can only say I was joyous afterwards. I was joyous for her and what it did for her. And this guilt, she didn't come to me about that. And when we were talking beforehand, that never came up. It wasn't something she was expecting, but it was in the subconscious and it came up as what had her stuck. And as soon as it came up, she recognized it and knew what it was. And even though it was a surprise, we were still able to deal with it absolutely there and then. Gone, vanished, no longer a problem for her. Totally different person. Amazing. So guilt, yes. Okay, so linked again to up here. So I need to put these together, actually. I'm going to move these around. So again, with this self-confidence, go back to, this is why we have to get over the self-confidence, because if you are not confident in who you are, it's like I said to you, I spent such a long time trying to work out, what do people want from me? Who do they need me to be? How do I connect here? How do I make sure I fit in and that I don't get rejected? People pleaser. And we can all relate to this. This especially, when we're talking about abuse, We all try to people please, to lessen what's happening to us. If only I'm nice to this person, maybe they'll stop. I used to do this obviously at school. If I can just, I used to make fun of myself actually in the hope that other people wouldn't. So that's just one example there. But people pleasing, children in abuse situations, they really do just lose any sense of themselves because they are constantly trying to appease someone in an attempt to lessen what is happening to them, and this pattern carries through into their adult lives. So you have to master your self-confidence and become someone who is not a people pleaser. That doesn't mean that we can't do things for other people. I spend my life doing things for other people, but I do it within my boundaries and my barriers and in a way that supports and loves other people. I don't do it coming from any weakness on my part, wanting people to like me or needing to connect or anything like that. It all comes from a good, solid foundation, and that's where you need to get to. And the last one, this is an interesting one, your money story. We don't really talk about this much. This is very much something that comes up in the business world, but in private as well, in your personal life, your money story. Think about this. What do I mean? I actually mean how you perceive money, what you perceive money as, and all the stories that we hear about money as children. That's very interesting because in my private group earlier, I was sharing a training and I shared a story about how just a couple of months ago, I nearly had a panic attack in a supermarket. I think I shared it on my personal feed at that time as well, so you might have caught it. And I realized afterwards that it was because I was in a supermarket and we just invested a load of money in something else and left ourselves short. And my husband had said to me, oh, make sure you don't spend more than such and such. And it was a bit of a surprise to me that he said that. Plus, I'd been traveling. I came back. I had jet lag. I wasn't quite myself. And I remember going around the supermarket and feeling a panic attack come on me. And I shared some of my tips for dealing with that because I was able to deal with it. But you know what I worked out that was? It was when I was standing in the supermarket and I had, let's say, 2 cans and I was looking at them thinking, what shall I get? What shall I get? Which one? Trying to think, oh, am I going to get the right thing here? And it took me back. I didn't realize at the time I was just concentrating on not having the panic attack. But here is how the mind will go to the familiar. The mind loves what's familiar. So here I am now. I'm 54. This was probably when I was 8 years old that this happened. Oh, probably, well, no, right through actually until my mid-teens. Certainly, I came from a poor family and there was never enough. Being in the supermarket with my mum and remembering my mum looking at the cans in distress, wondering what to get because she didn't have enough. And the thing is, the way I grew up with an awareness 24/7 that there wasn't enough, that we were poor and that this was a problem. And what happened that day in the supermarket, even though it's like 40 years later, 40, probably 48 years on from that particular scene, or 46 from those kind of scenes, and my mind went there and I got that trigger. And that's what happened. And that's your money story. And if you don't recognize your money story that tells you, there are all sorts of ways this shows up, that no one in our family goes to, this is what might be yours, it's not mine. No one in our family goes to university. Oh, we're not the kind of family that own our own house. Oh, we don't work for ourselves. We just want steady incomes. You know, and then there are the other stories around, oh, rich people are really greedy, rich people are really selfish, oh, no one likes wealthy people, oh, if you've got money it just causes hassle within the family, and all these stories that come from people's own insecurities. They don't have any basis, but they're your story. If this is what you heard in your childhood, you have to recognize it and change it because it will keep you stuck. I certainly had to do a lot of work on mine to be able to develop my business and my life in the way that I wanted to. Although mine was a bit different because I got bullied for being poor, and I was absolutely determined that I was not going to be poor as I got older, and that my boys were never ever going to go through what I went through. So that's how that affected me. I did the 180. I did the absolute opposite. And it didn't always serve me, actually. Again, kind of look at it and say it was a good thing, but I always felt under enormous pressure to make sure there was enough, and I never felt good enough. I do now, but for a long time, until my mid-40s, I always felt that whatever I provided, it wouldn't be enough. And that's that not enough story running in the background. So it's really important, guys, that we recognize these things. And just quickly, before I finish up here, on this money story, this not enough, Marissa Peer tells a really good story of how she was flying and she got back into London, and she'd been talking to a doctor on the plane. And oh no, it wasn't on the plane. She met him they were doing their luggage, and they got talking, and she realized they were going in the same direction. And she said to him, "Oh, why don't we share a taxi?" And he looked at her. This is a very successful doctor. They were both going back to Harley Street. And the doctor said to her, "Oh, I don't catch a taxi. That's way too expensive. I catch the bus." And she said she just absolutely couldn't believe it, that he caught the bus. And she said to him, "Well, that's," she kind of not trying not to be rude, saying, "Well, that doesn't make any sense because time is money, etc., etc." And the doctor said to her, he said, "Well, when I was growing up, we never had much money." And his parents had a story about the kind of people that caught taxis. And he'd carried that forward, and it had never, ever occurred to him, even though he was now a very successful Harley Street doctor and could afford to have a chauffeur pick him up, probably. He still had that story about the kind of people that catch taxis. So there you go. So I thought I'd share that with you. I hope that was useful. And you can take your time and work through and see how these things will have a negative impact on your life if you don't master them, and how much more successful you will be in every area of your life when you do.